This bar here represents Bitcoin's directional alignment with liquidity, which is at 83%. So in simple terms, that means Bitcoin moves in the same direction as global liquidity more than 8 out of 10 times. That's a very strong relationship, especially when we compare it to other major assets. The S&P 500, for example, comes in just behind Bitcoin at 81%. Gold is lower at 68%, and treasury bonds lag far behind at around 45%. So it's clear that Bitcoin is one of the most sensitive major assets when it comes to the direction of global liquidity. And with global liquidity increasing rapidly today, it's a strong tailwind for Bitcoin, suggesting that Bitcoin's general direction should likely be up in the next few months. So today's macro backdrop can force large speculators back into the market. And historically, moments like this have often marked important turning points for Bitcoin. For example, in November of 2022, large speculators were quite underexposed, and that coincided with a bottom on Bitcoin before the price rallied by 60% over the next 3 months. We also saw underexposure in January 2023, January 2024, and October 2024. And all 3 of these instances preceded an 80% move up on Bitcoin within the following 3 months. So, when large speculators are least exposed, like today, it tends to precede a big rally. And with today's exposure back to low levels, a similar 60 to 80% rally would put Bitcoin somewhere between $160,000 and $180,000 by October of 2025. Of course, like any other metric, this one isn't perfect either. In June of 2023, speculators were just as underexposed as today. But instead of a breakout, Bitcoin entered a 3-month period of consolidation, with nearly a 25% correction before an 80% move up. However, in our opinion, such an outcome today is quite unlikely. That's because global liquidity that we looked at earlier doesn't just help us understand Bitcoin's past moves, but it can also give us a clue about what might be coming next. When we take this chart of Bitcoin with global M2 money supply and shift forward the liquidity line by about 12 weeks, we can see that the 2 lines move together almost perfectly. So Bitcoin's price actually tends to follow the path of liquidity with a 3-month lag. This is a relationship we had also highlighted back in April of this year, when Bitcoin was still trading near $80,000, and it has kept us bullish on Bitcoin throughout this rally to $120,000. Now, if this pattern continues to hold, global liquidity is suggesting that Bitcoin could actually be on track for a move towards the $170,000 region by October of 2025, which would be in line with the most of the rallies we've seen when large speculators are as underexposed as today.